Aloha, beautiful souls. Whew! The last few months have been a lot of energy. Am I right? Um, I've been contemplating, deeply reflecting, experimenting, adventuring, and last night I was writing and a bunch of dots connected up for me. And so this is like the culmination of everything that I've been learning over the last few months. And I hope that this brings value to you. One of my mentors shared this YouTube video of this 1940s metaphysicist named Neville Goddard with me, and it literally changed my entire perspective on reality. And like, I was already headed there, I was already mostly there, but it threw me over the edge, right? So Neville Goddard was this 1940s metaphysicist, who explained reality, not just at a quantum level, but your perception of reality at a quantum level. And your perception about specific things, right? And I've also been listening to 1920s, 1940s metaphysical books and all these things. And so the first video that I listened to, Neville Goddard talks about challenges, right? We all have them. We all face them. But what is your perspective on challenges? Right? Emotionally, you can feel like, God, why am I dealing with this situation? This is a blockage. What the heck? And it can feel so overwhelming. But Neville Goddard, he put this perspective spin on it. That challenges are preparation for your greatest blessings. Let's think about that. So, if you assume that the universe is always bringing you a blessing greater than what you desire, greater than your imagination can perceive, because your imagination is programmed by your trauma. Very important part right there. Then you understand that the universe is going to send you things to prepare you for the blessing that you cannot yet imagine. Right? Because let's be honest, if the universe were to hand you, wrapped in a bow, your greatest blessing right now, whatever that may be, in whatever part of your life that might be, right? That could be abundance and wealth. That could be your life fulfilled in purpose. That could be a romantic partner that is everything you've ever desired and never knew you wanted, right? If the universe tied that in a bow and handed it to you right now, would you be able to handle it? Would you be able to not only receive it, but believe it? Would you be able to believe that you are receiving this blessing and that it's real? And not just receive it and believe it, but maintain it. Be able to hold on to it, be able to keep it, be able to care for it. If you could really do all that, you would already have it. So the universe sends you these challenges, these situations that seem impossible, because it is preparing you to receive, believe, hold on to, and care for the blessing you never could imagine having. that was so powerful to me. Because we all have the ability to manifest. We all have the ability to change our realities drastically. I've seen it in the last few months. I have seen people be handed everything that they wanted, wrapped in a bow, but they didn't believe in it. They didn't know how to care for it. Now, why would the universe do that? Because it's a lesson you needed to learn. It prepares you for when the universe blesses you next, how to receive it, how to believe in it, how to care for it, in order to hold on to it, in order to maintain it, right? So that was one of the big, like, aha moments. And the second thing that I think it was a different video, that had a bunch of different ones of his speeches in it. He talked about every challenge, every situation, not just every challenge, but every situation, whether you consider it positive or negative. I don't really believe in calling situations negative. I believe in calling them a challenge. Because something happens in your brain when you classify a situation as a problem or a negative. Your brain instantly blocks solutions to it, right? Whereas if you classify it as a challenge, your brain starts working, oh, this is a challenge. This is a challenge. I need to, like, figure out how to solve this, and, like, look for solutions and look for doors, and you all of a sudden open up the possibilities of how to deal with a challenge. And that's much more powerful than classifying it as a negative, right? So there's that. But he talks about asking yourself this question, no matter what situation you come across, whether it's a positive or a challenge. And that question is, if I was the most fulfilled version of myself, the happiest, the healthiest, the most abundant, I loved myself so immensely that I'm just dripping in it. I am loved by others. I am supported by others. Like a type of fulfillment that just makes you just, like, echo abundance. If I was that version of myself right now, how would I respond to the situation in front of me rather than react? Think about that. Because oftentimes, whether we're dealing with a positive situation or a challenge, we come at it from the perspective of where we currently are, which is not where we want to be, right? So we are problem solving and reacting to both the positive and challenging situations in our life from a state of where we don't want to be. How is that going to create the reality, the abundant, highest version of ourselves for our future? It can't. If we react as we are now, we will stay as we are now. And it was very interesting to hear it in those words, because, like, throughout my life, I have asked myself, how would I show up in this situation if I had money? How would I show up in this situation if I had self-love or XYZ? So I had already been doing this to a certain extent, but I hadn't fully envisioned the reality of seeing myself in that epic state and responding in that truly epic state all the way around in all areas of my life. So that was exceedingly powerful, and it changed how I would respond and react immensely, right? Now let's see, because I had a lot of notes here. Okay, those were the first two. Oh yes. Okay. The other one that I feel is really powerful is the lesson of humility, right? So many times when people come at us, like accusing us of things, accusing us of being a certain way, which I've not only witnessed other people do this with me a lot the last few months, but I've witnessed this become very prevalent in a lot of lives right now. I feel like there's an energy of judgment in order to bring out wounds and heal right now. And so for me, this has been a real call out for me of maintaining humility, and not just maintaining it, but dropping deeper into it, right? So when somebody thinks of you a certain way or accuses you of being a certain way, like our first response is that ego response of like, what are you talking about? I'm not that way. Why are you judging me? Right? And that's a natural response because we don't want to be those things. Right? None of us want to be what the judgments of others perceive us as. But interestingly enough, I found myself like at first doing that, and then I dropped further into humility. What if these people were correct? That's a very powerful question. Questions are so powerful in life. So, when you ask yourself if somebody's judgments are correct about you, or their perceptions are about you, it doesn't mean that you take on their judgments. It means you get curious about yourself. You reflect on yourself. And here's what I do, because I have a team of people in my life that are exceedingly supportive, and they are no bullshit kind of people. Like, they will tell me the way it is, whether I like it or not. And I have these people in my life very purposely because I want that. I don't want people to not tell me when I'm behaving badly, right? And so what I started doing was, if somebody would judge me or somebody would say something of me, I would go and I would ask these people that I know are going to be really, really honest with me. Hey, do you think that I'm this way? I'm really curious. Like, tell me. I want to know. And they would tell me honestly. Well, I don't think you're that way. I think you have a little bit of this over here. And they would reflect back to me the reality of how I am behaving and showing up in life. Not just for myself, but in the world and for others. And I think that building a check system for yourself so that you can check yourself with that type of humility, with that type of curiosity, is super important. right? Let me see if I had anything else on humility that I had written. So, oh yeah, how I was tying humility back to asking yourself about how to show up as the best version is that in that, if you are humble, I feel like you ask yourself how you can show up as your best version in order to help another person show up as their best version. So that when you're responding to any situation, your goal is to help the other person, to serve the other person through humility of self-reflection. How am I behaving in order to produce this wonderful outcome for this other person? Not for me, but for them. So that's kind of how that all tied together in my head. And then, let's see, what was the next thing? Oh, yes. Time. So this is something that I've seen in my life, and this is something that I actually learned from my mother, and it took quite a few years to learn it from my mother because I was really stubborn. But it's something that I seriously appreciate learning from my mother. My mother was an extraordinarily patient person. And she used to tell me, sit still, sit back and watch, because all the answers will be revealed. And to me, this is an ultimate truth of time reveals everything. It reveals the truth in everything. Oh, thank you. You're welcome. My daughter just gave me a little present. So time reveals the truth in everything. And I have seen over the many years of observing this that it's really true. On every level, with everything, it is like an ultimate truth of reality. Time will reveal the truth in every aspect of everything you can possibly imagine. It will reveal how you feel about yourself. It will reveal about how you show up in life. It will reveal whether you're growing. It will reveal whether you're falling back in life. It will reveal who your true friends are. It will reveal who a person is. Now, this is very powerful because many people, they make a judgment about a person and they make an immediate reactive. They're immediately reactive when they see something or they hear something about another person, rather than sitting back and being patient and observant and waiting for the answer, because the answer will reveal itself with time. I've seen this especially with narcissists, right? They've even done studies on it. Did you know that a narcissist and other people with behavioral problems, it takes about 3 years. 3 years. They usually cannot keep up the ruse of who they are after 3 years. Even the most skilled, advanced, out of this world, intelligent narcissist and manipulator, they can't do it. Time reveals all. It also reveals whether or not you have judged a person harshly. I know that there are people in my life who, years ago, I was like, you're never going to grow. You're never going to grow. You're going to be stuck. I don't want to deal with this. I'm going to take myself out of the picture. And I did. And what happened? Almost always, 2 to 3 years later, I found out they were a person that was going to grow like crazy. Time reveals all. It's whether or not you have the patience to sit there and wait for the answer before being reactive. And this is what a lot of the ancient wise men talked about. They talked about how in order to understand and have all the answers in life, you must sit still and wait for them. It's exactly what they were talking about. Time reveals all. No one can hide the truth from the passage of time. It's not possible. Right? And I have also seen this on the other end of things where people have been bullied and slandered. I personally have been bullied and slandered in my life. There have been some times in my life where some horrible things have been said about me. And I was really distraught. Even just thinking about it almost brings me back to tears, because these things that were said about me were so awful. Like, I can't repeat them. And it was interesting because a couple years later, I had people that were so against me, you would have never thought they would have ever talked to me again. I had them come up to me and apologize to me, face to my face, and say, I judged you wrong. I am so sorry for the way I behaved. You have proven by your growth and the way you've shown up in life that the things that were said about you were not true. So this is another way of looking at the power of time reveals all. If you're on that receiving aspect of negative things, negative beliefs or slander or XYZ from other people, you right here have a choice whether to be reactive and, in a sense, prove them right by becoming reactive, or you can have faith that time reveals all and focus on yourself. Sit with yourself. Grow yourself. Because if you focus on yourself, the beauty of who you are, that will shine through, and it will show those people the truth of who you are. Now, you may or may not get an apology like I did, but it will happen, because time reveals all. Now let's see what else, because there was more. Now, oh, that's right. So some of this ties into perception, right? And emotional response. So oftentimes when we're presented with a situation, whether positive or a challenge, we have this tendency to, we feel these emotions. We see a situation, we think that this initial belief of this situation is correct, and we have an emotional response over it. And that emotional response causes us to react. It causes us to be like, okay, I need to do this right now, and I need to, yes, we have to act. We have to react, because this situation is this way, and I've been presented with this information, and I'm having this emotional response over it. All of us have been there, right? And it was interesting because I was listening to, with my brother, a video of Jocko Willink. If you don't know him, look him up. Former Navy SEAL, life coach, incredible guy. And I really appreciate his perspective on emotions and self-regulation. Extremely powerful. So in one of these videos, he was talking about how almost always, like 95 to 98% of the time, are the initial information that we get, that we base these emotional reactions off of, is completely wrong. 95 to 98%. These initial information, initial judgments, emotional responses are wrong. This ties back into being patient and letting time reveal truth, right? And being humble enough to ask the questions and wait for the answers. See, this is what I'm saying. Like, all the things, I connected a bunch of dots last night, and I was like, oh, I want to share this. So, if your initial information is incorrect and you assume it is correct. Now, I don't know about you, but for me, whenever I've done this, there's that saying, when you assume, you make an ass out of you and me. And every time I have gone off of my initial information, initial assumption, I have made an absolute ass of myself. And I am not ashamed to admit it. Right? And so it really calls me back into that state of waiting. Patience. Time reveals all. And Jocko Willink talks about in his military service, in his Navy service, when he would run teams, somebody would be like, I'm under fire. And does he emotionally respond and go, okay, I'm sending backup, we're gonna get this, now? No. He goes, okay, I'm gonna need a little bit more information. See, he waits for the information to come to him because time reveals all before making an educated response decision. This is very important, because making educated, responsive decisions in your life will change everything. It will change your entire reality overnight. And you can see this. You can see this in people's lives. And I've literally personally experienced this. When I am not being patient, waiting for more information, making responsive, educated decisions, when I'm being reactive and like, oh, let's do this and this, all of a sudden chaos in my life ensues. But when I sit back, I wait for the information. Time reveals all. My life becomes like still water, peaceful. And everything flows and manifests and alchemizes. And blessings come to me that like I never knew I could have. And this has been very true over the last few months for me. This has been a very real state of recognizing response versus reaction on initial information. And you have to be very careful what initial information you are letting your mind believe, right? Because perception is such a powerful thing, right? It shapes and molds everything in our lives. There was a thought that I had last night about perception and how perception, like I'm a photographer. I don't know if I have, I think I put my camera somewhere else. But a photographer, you have the camera body, which is the mind of the camera, right? And you have these different detachable lenses and they do different things, right? There's different reasons why you use different lenses. And for me, that is an analogy for perception. We have our mind, that is the computer that perceives what the lens, the perceptive lens that we're using is giving to us. Now, A master at perception, from my understanding, can purposely, he has all his lenses lined up, and he can try on the different lenses to perceive life differently, very intentionally and very purposely. It's not a random thing, right? Versus someone who is being reactive and perceiving life through whatever lens the emotional response gives him, right? We can put on a lens, we can have a situation and we can put on the lens of that person. We can put a lens on of a grandmother. We can put on a lens of a shaman. We can put on a lens of a life coach. All of these we have access to. We have access to multiple lenses of perceptive ability, but we have to practice the craft of taking pictures of life with those different lenses in order to be adept at using them. So that was an analogy that came to me last night. Let's see what else I got. What time, baby girl? Yes, I wrote down all good things come to those who are patient. So that ties back into the patience. Curiosity. That was another one. Because curiosity is the ability to combine imagination and humility. Now, perhaps I'm mistaken, but that's my understanding. Like, when you get curious about something, you're open-minded. You're coming from this place of humility. You don't need to be right. You are excited to know the answer, to find it out, right? And, like being patient and waiting for a response, waiting for more information, responding off of time reveals all. Also, getting curious. If we're truly a curious person, the initial information that we receive, we're going to be curious about rather than reactive to. Oh, I'm seeing this. I wonder what that is. I wonder what caused that. I wonder what's going on for them. Curiosity is by far, I think, one of the most powerful tools in life. Curiosity can save you mental health wise. Curiosity can answer questions of how to be a better person. Curiosity can teach you a craft. Curiosity can teach you how to be a better parent. So curiosity is another one that I found really powerful. And curiosity can also awaken our self-awareness. Deep, invigorating, life-changing self-awareness. When we get curious about ourselves, hey, I wonder why I did that. Both good and, what we would consider the shadow side of ourselves, the reactive side of ourselves. When we get curious and self-reflective, we see ourselves through this lens of curiosity, the perspective lens of curiosity. That's a lens in our toolkit that we can use to look at life, to look at situations, to look at people. And it's so incredibly powerful. Like, I don't fully have words to describe it, I feel like. this is another thing. Being able to discern through the lens of curiosity, through the lens of patience and observation and time, who someone is or what a situation is in the here and now, right? So, I don't know about you, but most of the healers that I know, including myself, like, I like to look at a person's potential, right? Oh, you're such a beautiful soul, you have such potential, I love you. And that's wonderful, and that's great, and we don't want to lose that. And we want to be fully aware of who they are right now and accepting of who they are right now, because we cannot show up from a place of humility and help guide them to their best selves if we do not accept who they are right now. Would you like me to open that for you?
Yeah.
Okay.
Because it's harder.
Okay.
Yeah.
There you go. Thank you for asking Macy. So, learning how to both see them for who they are right now, even if that's their shadow self, and being able to hold the perspective vision of who they are or who they will be at their highest self in the future is important for us to show up as our best selves in their life. If we only look at them from the perspective of this wonderful envisioning of who they could potentially be, we do them a disservice. Because without knowing who they are right now and seeing who they could be, we cannot see how our behavior can influence the roadmap to their highest self. We, in a sense, disable ourselves from being able to show up in the highest way for them right now. And that concept blew my mind, right? Because so many of us healers, we don't want to see the shadow of like how they're showing up right now and who they are right now and the challenges that they have right now, because there's this beautiful person just waiting to come out of them. And it's true. There is this beautiful, incredible, amazing person that is ready to pop out of them at any minute, that we see them as and we want them to see themselves as. But how are we supposed to influence and guide them and heal them if we don't accept where they are at right now? Like, that's not possible. That's like a personal trainer taking a 300-pound person and seeing their potential as a bodybuilder and putting them through hold on, baby girl, through a bodybuilder training course at like an expert level when they're 300 pounds. That's not going to help them. That's going to put them in the hospital, right? And the same is true of people on an energetic level, on a physical level, like we just talked about, on a spiritual level. We have to be able to accept where someone is at right now if we have any hope of showing up in their lives in a way that will actually help them, right? Okay, let's see what else I had here. Let's see. Okay, next page. Okay, we already covered perspective. We already covered curiosity. So, I touched on this earlier, but I think I want to touch on it even more. So, I know plenty of people who are spiritual, who are healthy, even people who are life coaches, amazing people, right? But something will happen in their life, or perspectives, misunderstandings, XYZ, it all can lead down shadow paths, let's call it. And what I've started to realize for myself is that when you show up as your highest version, when you ask yourself, if I was the most fulfilled version of myself, how would I show up for myself? The answer is to protect myself, to put checks in place for myself, to prevent issues in my life, to make sure that I am holding true to a growing pattern, right? So for me, what this has ended up looking like is having people in my life who I can check in with on different subjects and different things and be held accountable for my behavior. Let me say that again. Be held accountable to my behavior. Not that people are observing me from an outside perspective and coming to me about my behavior. No, I have friends that I have literally asked, I know this is your gift. Can you please look out for these behaviors in my life and hold me accountable to it? Hold me accountable if you see me behaving this way. Just like one of my mentors, he made the comment